If you're ready for a hearty serving of esports and gaming greatness, then let's head into this fresh new episode of State Champs Esports. Hello and welcome. This week we have week 1 highlights of our Overwatch tournament, a Hitman III game review, a recap of the Wisconsin State Finals, and an interview with the esports coach up at Baraga High School. Before we get to all that jazz, let's take a moment to thank Lawrence Tech and Hungry Howie's. Both of these great organizations make this show possible. Their support has also allowed us to launch our podcast, Gamers Unlimited, which features extended interviews from this show and much more. You can listen to it on all major podcast apps. After months of planning and preparation, we finally had our first week of competition for the State Champs Overwatch tournament. Former Grandmaster player Ethan Avery breaks it all down for us.
Let's take a look at some Overwatch action from week 1 of our winter tournament. Hero Life and Zakaria team up and take down everything in their path, helping Melvindale take the map against Baraga. Then, on map 2, Hero Life showed there was more left in the tank, getting a 6k on Li Jiang and bringing Melvindale up 2-0. On Hanamura, Melvindale's dominant performance would continue and they would come out the victors in the match 4 maps to none. On to the match between Dakota and Lloyd Norix. Map 1 here would include this incredible nano blade, but it wouldn't be enough as Dakota took King's Row. On Watch Point Gibraltar, the big nanos continued, this time on Reinhardt, who swung and shattered his way to a big teamfight win. Then, on Temple of Anubis, how about this play of the game where Torbjorn starts off asleep? But not to worry, the Molten Core still manages to find 3, and Dakota would go on to defeat Lloyd Norix 4-0. Here between Melvindale and Detroit Catholic Central, let's take a look at Eichenwald, where a big barrage comes in, but an even bigger Diva Bomb from Detroit would seal the map. Then on Nepal, what's the play of the game here from Flame Kid? It's a Reaper with ult. You know what that means. A huge Blossom is incoming and it takes out 4. This would help Detroit Catholic Central defeat Melvindale JV 4-0, though in the varsity matchup, Melvindale would flip things around, winning 4-0 themselves. And those were our scores for week 1.
Thank you, Ethan. He'll be back next time with week 2 highlights. After the first round of the regular season, here's how the teams stack up. We're looking at a 4-way tie for first place as well as second. The first big video game release of 2021 is here, and our reviewer Juarez is here to tell us whether or not we should give this one a shot.
Hitman III is one of the first AAA games to come out in 2021 on January 20th. Releasing as a finale to the reboot series, the game definitely is a spectacular finish. While being labeled as a sequel, it acts really more like an expansion, as the gameplay is same as the first 2 games, but the graphics have gotten a bit of a touch-up. It acts like a package game where if you've played either of the first 2 games, the story and the maps do carry over, but if you don't, you can always get the whole series within Hitman 3 for about $20 up, which is not a bad deal for all 3 games. If you haven't played the original 2, you follow Agent 47, one of the best assassins for the ICA, a contract company that takes out high-profile targets, whether by classic gunning down or making it look more like an accident. Spoilers here, but during the first 2 games you start getting contracts from a shadow client, and you learn that all the contracts are against this secret organization, think like the Illuminati, named Providence. A lot of back and forth happens, double agents, triple agents, so on and so forth. The story can definitely get a bit convoluted, but does a really good job of tying into every element of the gameplay. Not to mention, this new 3rd game really wraps everything up quite nicely. IO has really staked its claim on the modern stealth genre. The gameplay always has this fantastic slow burn, locating the target, exploring the area for ways to make the hit happen, whether that's posing as a bartender and poisoning their champagne, nailing someone with a shovel as a team mascot, or even cracking someone with a coconut. The creativity and endless options really put the player in the driver's seat and really helps them feel like they really are the ones pulling the strings on how it's going to go down. Whether it's through sneaking around and getting disguises and finishing off that way, or just straight up having a shootout, it's really up to you. This is further pushed with how fantastic the maps are. There's about 6 total, not including the maps from the last 2 games, and these maps I'd say are probably the best in the series. Huge, plain to explore, so many opportunities and crazy ways to get close to the target. Crazy design like the tallest building in Dubai, underground clubs in Germany, and a neon-filled city in China. Whether it's posing as a detective solving a rich family's murder to only get close and then murder the family head, yeah, pretty ironic. Or posing as a volunteer in a shady science experiment to get close to your contract, the disguises and what you can do with them get pretty wacky. Not to mention the replayability. Side missions in these maps and online features called online contracts. You and other players can go to any of these maps, select up to 4 contracts, choose a desired way of completing it, weapon, outfit, and submit it online. You can then play these contracts, using hidden entryways and new weapons you can pick up from when you play the story mode. This creates what feels like a whole new set of contracts and a bunch of new ways to experiment with the game's wild, creative maps. If there's one thing I've learned from playing this game, is that Hitman is the king of the modern stealth genre. And this last game not only cleans up the entire story extremely well, but really is the best of the bunch.
And now we wrap up our coverage of the Wisconsin High School Esports Association. Last weekend, they hosted the state championship for both Overwatch and Smash Brothers. Here's Kevin with a roundup of all the action.
What's going on, State Champs Esports Nation? Kevin with you, and let's check out who was crowned esports champion in the state of Wisconsin. The Wisconsin High School Esports Association held the finals in Smash Brothers and Overwatch this past weekend. We start off with the Smash Brothers tournament. In Division 3, we had Random Lake and St. Catherine's battling for the D3 title. It was St. Catherine's coming out on top, 4-1 for the Division 3 crown. To Division 2, we had Fort Atkinson and Port Washington squaring up. And it was the squad from Fort Atkinson coming away with the clean 4-game sweep to take home the Division 2 championship. And the top matchup in Division 1, Chase and Bayport chasing the bragging rights to claim Wisconsin's top team in the state. Chase Legends taking game number 1, and Bayport claims the dub in game 2. But it was the Case Legends getting the best of Bayport to become the Division 1 champions. Now, let's check out what's happening in the Overwatch portion of the tournament. In the Division 3 bracket, Walden 3 High School going up against West Salem, and it was West Salem pulling away 3-1 to become Wisconsin's Division 3 Overwatch champions. Now hopping over to Division 2, Bigfoot and Edgewood. Edgewood had a great regular season, and they continued their domination in the finals to capture the Division 2 championship in a clean 3-game sweep. And finally, in the Division 1 title match between Bayport and Menominee Falls. After splitting the first 2 games, Menominee Falls would go up a game, and Bayport would fight back to force a 5th game. In the end, it was Menominee Falls coming out on top and is your 2020 WIHSEA Fall Overwatch Division 1 champion.
And for the final segment of the show, we chatted with the head coach of one of the teams competing in our Overwatch tournament.
What's going on, State Champs Esports Nation? Kevin here, and joining me today is Jarrett Davidson, head coach of the Baraga Vikings esports team. Jarrett, thanks for being here, and tell the people a little bit about you.
Thanks. I'm Jarrett Davidson, head esports coach at Baraga, also a math, computer science teacher, and a JV boys basketball coach here at our school.
First off, I just want to ask you, how did you get involved with esports? I know, a lot of people that I've been interviewing, they've been playing games as a kid, and, they're excited to, as their passion playing video games, and pass it on to these kids and use it as a tool, later on in future life.
Yeah. So, obviously I played growing up, 90s kid, whatever, played a lot of video games as a kid. But what I saw when I first came to Baraga was the academic side of it, right? Getting these kids tied into academics and seeing the benefits you can have for the kids when you create a club that isn't with anything else, right? You're drawing in kids that are from a different area. I have some overlap with some of my sports athletes, but a lot of these other kids aren't in other activities or clubs offered at our school. So it's drawing them into something they can be a part of.
So that kind of rolls into my next question. How did the program come about at Baraga? You're all the way up there in the UP, don't really have the big city. You know, we're located here in Detroit. You know, probably the closest big city would be Marquette, and it's not even that big. It's still considered a small town. So, you know, talk about how the program came about and, you know, what it's doing right now.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're pretty small compared to a lot of the other schools we compete against. I know in MySF, I got a little laughs about how you know, Loy Norix might have their whole high school population enough to fill our entire school. So, you know, we're small, about 25 kids a grade. I have 25 kids in our 20 to 25 in our esports program right now. When I first started it out, I just said, you know, look, this is a huge benefit to our kids, both academically and getting them on track. At that point, there weren't many colleges that offered scholarships, but that was 2 years ago, and now it's exploded. So definitely the benefits there. And then getting started, we got a little bit of funds from our school to get it started, and we've been kind of fundraising as we go. So right now we have 5 PCs. Of course, the gamer and me I'm not as much as a gamer as I should have been in not playing Overwatch, right? There's 6 PCs there, so I actually bring in my own personal PC for them to play with when we have Overwatch, but we're still building, and you know, in year 2, it's definitely way better than year 1.
How important is it for esports programs to be considered a tool for high school students?
I think it's awesome. I pride myself in the fact that we're probably one of the first actual programs in the UP to be able to pioneer something like this for the kids. Just having that connection, like I said, being able to see there's more opportunities than just playing the games. You know, our shoutcasters, people that are doing our social media stuff, all that stuff comes into play for these kids, and it's giving them the real life skills to have that are going to be able to use in careers outside of just playing games. And I think that's the most important part I see right now.
You know, does coaching live action sports, you're a JV basketball coach, you know, how does that translate over to the virtual world? I know, you know, there's a lot of things, you know, you can intertwine, but, you know, there's still a lot of, you know, differences, but, you know, what are the similarities too?
Well, I would say the biggest thing, so for me, coming from I didn't know anything about Overwatch. Our first team we had together that was really well put together was Overwatch. Those kids were dedicated, they wanted to play. I knew squat about Overwatch. There was nothing I knew. I kind of picked it up as we went, but a lot of the stuff from my coaching experience in basketball was, okay, how can we debrief? How can we talk about the things that went good, the things that we can do better on, and how can we improve as a team? You know, a lot of that stuff meshes together in the, you know, team aspect of it. I think that was the biggest part that helped me as a coach.
How do you see the future of high school esports, and, you know, what direction do you see it? I know it's, you know, it's just gaining a lot of steam, and it's just, it's headed in the right direction, it seems.
I would agree with that 100%. I see the growth of programs around us. I know there's some schools up here now. Escanaba's talking about getting their program running. I know with COVID right now, it's hard for these schools to get a little more traction. But I think the biggest and the best part about our esports community, just as a whole, is a willingness to help each other. I mean, you talk to college coaches, you talk to high school coaches, you talk to anybody that's in the community, you know, truly, and they'll say, what can I do to help you improve your program? And I think that's the best part about esports that you don't see in traditional sports.
Unfortunately, it's time to wrap things up, but before we go, I want you to download our State Champs Network streaming and mobile apps. If you know any high school League of Legends players, tell them to sign up their team for our 5th annual tournament. Registration is currently open for you to sign up on our website right now. And finally, we want to thank Lawrence Tech and Hungry Howie's once again for all of their help. Please stay safe, healthy, and happy until next time.